So to get started tonight, we're going to invite two of the co-founders, sisters Nancy and Dianne Dickeman, up to give a little background on Particles on the Wall, as well as discuss their contributions. Dianne Dickeman is a visual artist and a cultural worker. Her work has been exhibited at the Tacoma Art Museum, the Wright Exhibition Space, Ag 47 Gallery, and alternative venues. She was born and raised in Richland. Nancy Dickeman is a Richland native, environmental health advocate, and writer. Her poems and essays have appeared in the Seattle Review, Poetry Northwest, the Seattle PI, Ocean Magazine, and other publications. She's currently completing her first novel manuscript titled Green Run, White Train, with Richland, Hanford, and the wind as the novel's backdrop. Nancy and Dianne.
Thank you, Nick. And I just want to start by saying it's really been a joy to work on this project, and Dianne and I feel very lucky to have be working with Steve, one of the most passionate and committed co-founders that I've known. So thinking about Particles on the Wall, I think about growing up in Richland. For Dianne and I, as Richland natives, the specter of the Columbia River, the beauty of the shrub steppe earth, the wind that coated our eyes and noses and infiltrated windows and doors represents a landscape that burrows within. We grew up in Hanford's shadow, a region that stamps its inhabitants with an indelible imprint. Created in top secret during World War II, Hanford produced the plutonium for Fat Man, the bomb dropped on Nagasaki, Japan. For the first atomic bomb detonated at the Trinity test at Alamogordo, New Mexico, and for many test detonations at the Nevada test site near Las Vegas. Through decades of nuclear fuel production, it supplied the plutonium for roughly 2/3 of the U.S. nuclear weapons arsenal. Now dubbed the most contaminated site in the Western Hemisphere, Hanford is deeply enmeshed in cleanup tasks that will be its mandate forever. In creating Particles on the Wall with Steve, we held brainstorming sessions with another Richland native, William Witherup, an activist and noted poet. We knew we wanted to fuse visual art, poems, and science to address Hanford history and nuclear issues in Washington state. The world lost Bill to leukemia prior to the exhibit's creation, but it is to his memory, with his piercing look at his hometown and broader nuclear concerns, to which Particles on the Wall is dedicated, with thanks to Sandra Hankins and Bill's family for poetry, historic, and memorabilia contributions to the exhibit.
With the opening of the inaugural exhibit at the Allegro Cafe in January 2010, we expanded our collaboration to work with the Washington Physicians for Social Responsibility. Through funding from the Washington State Department of Ecology and INND and the work of WPSR's dedicated staff, Particles has been exhibited at several venues east and west of the mountains. In August 2010, Particles on the Wall was exhibited at the Richland Public Library and in September at the Empyrean in Spokane. During 2011, POTW was installed at the Capitol Theater in Olympia in March, and then in April went on to the Department of Ecology building in Lacey. In October, Particles was invited to the Pacific Northwest Association of Toxicology annual meeting in North Bonneville, Washington. Each exhibit is an evolution as we continue to work with artists, writers, and scientists, and look forward to bringing Particles to more statewide walls in an effort to forge a more peaceful and healthier world. This is my painting that's in the exhibit. It's titled Columbia River near Hanford, Late Afternoon. And I was born and raised in Richland. One of my, I guess, fondest memories is of the Columbia River. It's hugely important to the people of that region. I think anytime you're in an arid landscape, a body of water is a real source of great importance in many, many ways. This painting is kind of an homage to the river, but it's also speaking about the contamination that threatens that river and everyone who is living near it.
Okay. Well, I'll read one of my poems, Trigger Mechanics. A couple things I will, a couple things I will let you know. Horse Heaven Hills used as a bombing range during World War II to train fighter pilots. I noticed there's now a winery that has a bombing range red wine. But anyway, the Doomsday Clock. The Bulletin of Atomic Scientists first put it on the cover of their magazine in 1947. Since then, it has varied from 2 minutes to midnight to, I think it's gotten as far as 17 minutes. I wrote this poem in 2011 when it did not move forward that year, and it stayed at 6 minutes to midnight. Just this year, it got moved up 1 minute. It's now 5 minutes to midnight, which they did, recognizing the dangers following the inadequate progress in nuclear weapons reduction and proliferation, as well as continuing inaction on climate change. So this is Trigger Mechanics. Our German shepherd pined for the uncaptured sky. So we let her loose with the family in the Horse Heaven Hills, countryside once taken as a bombing range. But there she panted and hung her head in the wind and dust, shot with BBs for chasing the Palomino, until the gelding fell exhausted on the road's gravel shoulder, his blond tail fanned across the fog line. What did the shepherd know of science, the pellet's velocity, or the trigger's mechanics that wounded dog sent running towards the sunset? Decades later, the same blue hills holding the shepherd's bleached bones still rise beyond Hanford. On its 586 square miles, reactors churned out plutonium for weapons stockpiled in fields of silos, and some spun power, turbines gorged with electricity. The storage tanks, holes cracked, leak into the shrub steppe earth, a meandering tilt towards groundwater, while scientists measure the rabbits' radioactive scat marking the dusty ground. Workers toil, building a vitrification plant to turn radioactive waste into glass logs, as if it were magic, except the logs will still tick beneath the Geiger counter's metal hand. On New Year's Eve, the shepherd, a childhood memory, fog slips across the scoured hills. The doomsday clock stays at 6 minutes till midnight. We lean towards heat, the fires spit, and raise our crackling flutes. Thank you.